Hello everyone, back tuning into today's video. We're going to have a look at the weather next week, 10 days in today's video. It's taking us to around the 20th of April. We'll also have a look at the CFS V2 for the next month. So that's going to take us into May. A lot going on. We're going to start off pretty grim at the moment. We've got showery bursts of rain and the temperatures, especially in the east, are rather cool as well. But would you believe there are increasing signs that next week we're going to see not only a warming trend, but a very warm trend developing, and we might get our first burst of summer coming up next week, with temperatures lifting up into below 20 Celsius, into the 70s Fahrenheit, and a reasonable amount of dry weather as well. It probably doesn't last all that long, maybe only 2 or 3 days. But nevertheless, it looks like after all of the cold weather that we've had through the spring so far, we're going to go almost from winter to summer in a matter of a few days. So I'll talk you through everything that's going on. Yet again, it looks like weather is going to be doing something shocking and surprising. But I'm going to start off just having a recap on the situation going on at this point 20 years ago, because we are now at the 20th anniversary of the Easter floods of 1998. I did a historic video about this years and years and years ago. It's on my old Gavin Partridge YouTube channel, but the video is actually still embedded here at Gav's Weather Vids. So, I did that quite a long time ago. I thought I'd just recap how this flooding situation came about at the start of today's video. So, April 1998 was quite a cold month. We had a fairly fair old blocking feature out to our north and to our northwest, centred around Greenland, through much of the month. It's been a very mild winter. We'd had that super El Nino of 97, 98, and there'd hardly been any cold weather through the winter at all. There'd been an exceptionally warm spell in February of 1998, where temperatures in the middle of February lifted up to around 20 degrees, almost June-like temperatures in February. So it had been a really bizarre sort of winter. But as often happens, as an El Nino, a strong El Nino, eases back, as it lifts off and relaxes, you tend to get colder weather in the spring, late winter into spring, after an El Nino event. And this is a classic example of that happening. So this day, the 9th of April 1998, was actually the day where the rains fell. The 10th was when the flooding was at its worst. It takes a little while for all the rain to run into the rivers and estuaries, of course. So the rain fell on the 9th. The floods were at their worst on the 10th. So this is Maundy Thursday, 9th of April, where we have this strong blocking feature around Greenland and Iceland, and then we have this low pressure underneath it, close to the UK. So this cold northerly wind is trying to be forced southwards via that blocking, but this low pressure just to the southwest of the UK, that's trying to bring up warmer air from Europe. So we've got a classic battleground here, a classic temperature contrast, and in between there's an active weather front that is marking the boundary between those two air masses, and it was really the contrasting temperatures that fueled the front that produced tremendous rainfall through the central sway of the country. So I remember Northamptonshire was very badly hit by this, but River Then really did rise up and flood the town, but many parts of central England were also flooded. Places like Bedfordshire, for example, had very serious flooding as well. I remember through the morning of the 9th of April, it just poured with rain, and there was a lot of thunder and lightning, perhaps unusually for April. A lot of thunder and lightning was involved in that front as well. It's kind of like embedded thunderstorms along this active front. We recorded here in Northamptonshire around 50-60 millimetres of rain in a 3 to 4 hour period. So over 2 inches of rain fell very quickly. It had already been pretty wet anyway leading up to this event. So it was a bit of a cumulative effect, but nevertheless a tremendous amount of rain fell through quite a short space of time on the 9th of April. There's the upper air temperature, showing the temperature contrast with cold air with -5 ice flowings to the north, but we've got the warm air across France. So between the two, we have got that contrast in the temperatures. Now, this is Good Friday, 20 years ago today, 10th of April. where that low pressure is slipping away to the south, and then the cold air, of course, that's surging down from the north, leading to what was a very cold Easter weekend. Most of the rain pushing away to the southeast at this point, but of course it's done its damage. All the water has fallen and it's gone into the rivers and estuaries. They've rose up and flooded a lot of the towns and villages through central parts of England on this day, 10th of April. And we've also got cold air with those north to northeast winds bringing wintry showers, snow showers to northern parts of the country. Upper air temperatures show the cold air is surging south, and then that sets up for a very cold Easter. So this is how Easter Sunday is looking. 20 years ago, 1998, where we're firmly into that really cold northerly wind. After the floods came the cold weather, came the snow. So there was quite a lot of snow in the north, snow showers in other parts of the country, and some pretty hard and damaging night frosts as well. So a very notable spell of weather this time 20 years ago. Hard to believe that's 20 years ago. It just goes to show you how time flies. So after that recap on the Easter floods of 20 years ago, let's have a look at where we've got going ahead. And we're going to have a look at the CFS temperature and precipitation ensembles next. Or to start off with, I'm looking at Northampton today. I thought I'd keep things local, talking about those floods that occurred 20 years ago in Northamptonshire. So the red line here is the 30-year upper air temperature average for Northampton. We're starting off above average even now, so it doesn't really feel it. It's quite a dank, chilly sort of day, but technically it is quite warm in terms of the upper air temperatures. We're keeping those upper air temperatures above average over the next week, so plenty of warm weather coming up in the weekend if the sun comes out. That's the caveat. So if it's like today, if it's cloudy and damp, then you don't realise the potential of those warmer than average upper air temperatures. But as soon as the sun comes out, it's going to shoot the temperatures up, and they'll go at least to the mid-teens Celsius with upper air temperatures like that if the sun comes out. But that's not the end of it, because next week, look at this, the upper air temperatures are warming up even more, going up to around 10 degrees for a few days next week at 850 HPA. That could easily be lifting temperatures into below 20 Celsius if there's sunshine. I think there will be sunshine next week because high pressure is going to be dominating at least for a while next week. So I think there will be sunshine. I think we'll see temperatures lifting up to summer-like values into below 20 Celsius. It doesn't last all that long. The extended range of the ensemble is actually starting to lower the temperatures again, showing those temperatures cooling off. There is still quite a bit of uncertainty about the last week of April. Do we take this high pressure that's initially going to give us this warm weather? Do we take that up to Greenland and pull down northerly winds for the last week of April? I think that's a low risk that we do that, but there is the potential there for things to be turning colder in the final week of April. Not only turning colder, it also looks like it'll turn not only turning warmer next week, it also looks like it'll turn drier as well. So in the next few days, we have got quite a few precipitation spikes. There'll be more showery, wet weather coming up to the weekend. But from the weekend onwards, it does look as though we've got a drying trend here. So as the temperatures are lifting up, it's also turning drier. It looks like it'll be a very, very nice spell of weather if you like warm and dry weather through the course of next week. Surface temperatures for Northampton are looking like this. So that's 10 degrees just there. That's freezing there. That's 20 degrees just there. We're starting off a bit above 10 degrees Celsius, around 12 or 13. Probably about where you'd expect temperatures, maximum temperatures to be at this point in the year, sort of early April. So we're starting off at that sort of level. We stay at that sort of level for the rest of this week. Into the weekend, we have got a bit of a warming trend, but it's really next week that the temperatures start to lift off. So for a few days next week, we are taking the temperatures very close, or maybe a bit above 20 degrees Celsius. It probably lasts for 3 or 4 days, and then there are signs of a cool down again as we go into the final week of April. But certainly in this period just here, we could well be seeing temperatures at least to the upper teens Celsius, possibly to below 20s Celsius. That's for Northampton, remember. So you go further southeast, say somewhere like London, you might be even above that. I wouldn't be ruling out 22, 23, maybe 24 degrees, somewhere like central London later next week. That would be really quite remarkable after all the cold weather we've had this spring. Temperature anomalies a week ahead looking like this. So this taking us from the 10th through to the 18th of April, and they're coming out warmer than average. And expect those to trend warmer in the days ahead as next week comes into view. I think we'll see these temperature anomalies going even warmer than that. Precipitation anomalies are close to average. Expect those to trend drier over the next week as well. So this is how the midnight run of the GFS was looking for Saturday. It's Grand National on Saturday. I'm going to have an update for the Grand National, which is this coming Saturday. And that will also include an update for the London Marathon, which is going to be the following weekend on the Sunday. So that's all coming up later on today. But this is how the GFS is looking for Saturday. Still looking showery, really. We've got low pressure just to our south, high pressure up to the northeast. So at very least, showers can be expected in that pattern. That continues into Sunday as well. It's all going rather slack, and we are beginning to bring up some quite warm air from the south, so showers might be a little bit thundery over the weekend. And then into next week, we start to get this build of pressure away to our east, as this deep area of low pressure just here is stalling in the Atlantic. That's sending the jet stream into that sort of position, and so that's allowing high pressure to start to build to our east. If we go into the middle of next week, this is Wednesday the 18th, there come the southerly winds pulling the air up from southern Europe, and then the high pressure inflates. So not only is it looking warm through the second half of next week, it's also looking dry as well, and there will be increasing amounts of sunshine as the air is pushing in from a southerly to southeasterly direction. That's how things are looking at day 10, looking very warm with those southerly winds. We've got high pressure to the east, low pressure to the west. This low pressure is starting to encroach by then, so that's probably bringing thundery showers into the west, and quite shortly after that we probably start to cool things down fairly quickly. But there's the upper air temperatures on day 10 for Friday the 20th of April. They're very warm. The 15 Celsius isotherm is heading up across France, so that could lift temperatures into the upper 20s Celsius for France. The UK has got a 10 Celsius isotherm. Keep in mind, back at the beginning of March, we were talking about the minus 15 Celsius isotherm, making it right the way across Europe from Russia. So, hugely dramatic changes over just a few weeks. Into the extended range of the GFS, we start to turn things cooler, but not cold. High pressure is building out to the northeast. This low pressure slips south as that begins to turn the winds into a cooler easterly. 6 o'clock run of the GFS looks like that, so showery into the weekend, and those showery conditions last into the start of next week. But again, same idea, by Wednesday next week, we've got the high pressure building to our east with the low pressure out in the west and stalling. And then that takes into a very warm spell through the second half of next week, and usually warm conditions for the middle of April. Day 10, Friday 20th of April, again we're pulling in this southerly to southeasterly wind. It's going a bit unstable, so after 2 or 3 dry and very warm days, it's probably starting to break down and turn thundery by day 10. There's the upper air temperatures still looking very warm. And then after that, we go into a more unsettled and cooler spell of weather. ECMWF looks like this. So for Saturday, it's rather showery, and that continues into Sunday as well. Early next week, still showery, but then it's around Tuesday and Wednesday next week that we get this build of pressure across the UK and much of Europe as the low pressure out to the northwest is going in that sort of direction with the jet stream. That's allowing this ridge to build across central western Europe, and that ridge is beginning to pull up very warm air, very warm for time of year, from southern parts of Europe. And then we go into this spell of very warm weather into the second half of next week. High pressure dominated, so it's mostly dry. There'll be good sunshine with that as well. Temperatures at least into the low 20s Celsius. Possibly, I don't think we'll be ruling out mid-20s Celsius in the far southeast. By day 10, Friday 20th of April, it looks like it's starting to break down from the west, possibly some sort of thundery weather beginning to push in from the west or from the southwest too. ECWF ensembles for DeBuilt look like that. So this is 20 degrees just here. That's 15 degrees just there. That's 25 degrees. DeBuilt is in Holland, remember, but it's a fairly decent representation of the weather we can expect, at least in the southeast of the British Isles. So we see the temperatures at least going to around 20 degrees in DeBuilt, maybe a little bit above that for a time anyway, before again there's an idea for the final week of April they're starting to slide away. But for a few days next week, good agreement from the ECM and the GFS ensembles and operational runs that we are going to turn things very much warmer through the course of next week. Finally, a look at CFS V2 for the next month. These are 500 millibar heights broken down into 10-day periods. The first 10-day period taking us from the 10th through the 16th of April. The coming week has this ridge building to the east with below pressure being blocked out to the west. The jet stream is doing something like that. We're going onto the warm side of the jet and we're pulling in those warm winds from southern and eastern parts of Europe. This looks really good too. This is 500 millibar height only for week 2, 17th to 23rd of April, with the above average heights almost centred over the country, just a little bit to our east, of below average heights out to the west. But jet stream is like that. Again, lots of dry and potentially very warm weather with that for week 2. And week 3 looks really good as well. This is the 24th through to the 30th of April, with above average heights, high pressure centred almost over the UK, but below average heights still pinned out well to our west. The jet stream and the flow are going like that, so we remain on the warm side of the jet with plenty of dry and unusually warm weather. But then we go through to week 4, which is the 1st through to the 7th of May, and that above average area of heights is now centering itself around Greenland, so a very dramatic change has taken place, with below average heights extending through UK and Western Europe, and this would change the jet stream again complete. So now the jet stream position is doing something like that, and we're back onto the cold side of the jet, putting down cold air from the north and from the northeast, bringing a pretty dismal start to May. So temperature anomalies in the week ahead. CFS V2 are warmer than average, and they're very substantially warmer than average in week 2 as well. That's a burst of summer that we're seeing there, with temperature anomalies up to or maybe even over 3 degrees above average. Warmer than average temperature anomalies continue into week 3 as well, the 24th through to 30th of April. But then we go through to week 4, which is the 1st through to the 7th of May, and very quickly we are cooling things down quite a lot, going at least back to average, maybe even hinting at being a bit colder than average by the first week of May. That's a really long way off. It has been put back, that, from the last week of April, because a few days ago CFS was seeing quite cold conditions returning for the last week of April. It shoved it back to the first week of May, so we'll see whether that ever verifies. But certainly, going back to the more reliable time frame, which is the next week to 10 days, we're starting pretty warm already in terms of the upper air temperatures. If we get some sunshine breaking through all of this cloudy, gloomy weather, then it will already be quite mild, or maybe even a little bit warm. But next week, it looks like we're going to have a push of air from southern Europe, and with high pressure dominating, we could well be getting our first burst of summer. Temperatures going at least into the mid-20s Celsius, and plenty of sunshine with that as well, and dry conditions too. Been a long time coming, but it looks like next week we are finally going to get some really nice weather, if you like that kind of weather. Not everybody does like warm, sunny conditions, so if you like it, looks like you're going to get it next week, but of course some people don't like that weather. Right, bit of an extended one today. I wanted to have a look at the events 20 years ago, so I hope you found that part of the video interesting. And of course, over the next few days, we'll have more on next week's warm-up. Coming up later on today, we're going to have a look at Sabre Grand National, which is coming up on Saturday, and also at the London Marathon, which will be the following weekend. Right, that's all for now. Thanks for watching.